here we go.
Hey, be careful what you ask for.
I know. All right. We are now live. We are live on channel 955, hopefully. This is the first test of technology. So I just want to say I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have you in front of me as we've all done our part in getting the vaccines. And I'm excited. This is the first time we've had a State of the Castle since, really January of 2020. We had a meeting in February to kind of go through some COVID protocols and things of that nature, but it's been about 14 months. So I'm excited, and it's great to see everybody. And for those of you viewing on TV, it's great for you to tune in. We've expanded, obviously, our technology capabilities throughout the last 14 months. And so I want to give a huge thank you, shout out to Cooper and Scott from the Community Life team that have worked with Touchdown and our IT folks, including Kevin and Joe, to get live streaming going. So as I take a peek over, I see myself on camera and also hopefully on your television sets if you're watching. So. All right, well, let's get into it. The State of the Castle for April. So we have an agenda. We have a few presenters, obviously, that will present. You see my name in initials next to Eric Peterson. Eric is out today. He'll be back tomorrow, so I will present on his behalf with the information he's provided. But to begin, we'll start with Lindsay V. Goot to give a COVID-19 update, as well as a resident question, and then some health center updates. And of course, throughout the time, as we're back in front of individuals, if you have those questions, feel free to put a paw up, raise a hand, and we'll definitely be able to answer those questions right here and now. So again, you see the agenda in front of you, and look forward to it. So Lindsay, we'll let you take it away. Height difference between her and I.
Tough angles, right? Just kidding. Well, good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all today and in a setting where we can actually be interacting in person rather than us talking through a camera. This just is so much more meaningful, and I feel like we can really get a better message across, and to you all on TV. From a COVID-19 update, we still are COVID testing weekly in our healthcare areas. So Water Tower, CBRF, and the Health Center, staff and residents. And we have not had a positive, I'm not even going to say it, but it's been a while. So we want to keep that going. But that being said, we have had one staff member in the past month test positive that was unrelated to East Castle Place. And this person was not fully vaccinated at that time. Fully recovered and in the process of getting vaccinated, but just didn't get it prior to. So we'll continue to keep you abreast of the situation. We are still monitoring all new admissions from the hospital on our 5th floor health center. Protocols have changed due to the ability to have someone who's completely vaccinated no longer needing to admit in isolation, so to speak. So that's ideal, as many people who've been able to get the vaccine, which is everyone in the great state of Wisconsin who can and should, are able to resume normal visitation, activities, and so on because they have been fully vaccinated per the CDC and state of Wisconsin. And we have resumed visitation. This is no children, no more than 2 individuals visiting at a time, their loved ones. And we do have an email group for outside visitors, visitation@eastcastleplace.com, so that we can have a good handle on who's coming into the community because, again, we don't have the technology yet, I'd like to say, of monitoring exactly who received the vaccine, but we still are monitoring closely. I do anticipate still seeing a few here and there COVID positives coming up, just knowing changes, perhaps hopefully not a variant, but it still is out there. So just to keep you aware of that. We are not out of the weeds yet, so that's why we're all socially distancing. We have everyone spread out and so on. So, and then my next question is, will weekly and monthly blood pressure checks be resumed? So I had a resident ask me this probably 2 weeks ago, as we did stop blood pressure checks because of the ongoing pandemic and socially distancing, and as well as just to ensure that our most acute and clinically complex residents have that undivided attention to the nursing care. But that being said, it seems like probably in the late May, we would be able to resume on a monthly basis with blood pressure checks. Location to be determined, so that will be communicated, and there probably will be a pre-sign up just to make sure we have adequate time in between. Because, if I'm using the blood pressure cuff, it needs to be cleaned. I need to be still socially distanced away from when Tyler uses it as well. So I hope that answers the questions. Any questions for me? Yes.
Will there be animal visitations as there had been prior to COVID, where I had a friend who brought her dog to visit in memory care, I believe.
Sure. We are looking at that because I would love to see the animals too. But at this time, for the next 2 weeks at least, because that's usually how we kind of pace ourselves, there still is recommendation to not have therapy dogs back in the community. Yes.
And let me try this again. In CB or at whatever, our visits not have to be scheduled now from outside?
They are scheduled. We ask for 12 to 24 hours in advance. And that being said, if someone does though want to come, we can't restrict the hours necessarily by state guidelines. We can recommend that in a perfect world we would like a 9 to 6, but some people who are working, and just based on state protocol and from a psychosocial for the residents, it cannot be pigeonholed into certain time constraints.
But must be scheduled.
It is scheduled, yes. Any other questions? Okay, well, I'll give the camera and the mic back to Tyler. It's nice seeing you all.
Did you mention deficiency free?
Oh, no, I didn't. Thank you. I did on the last one. So, from a health center update, I don't know if you heard the great word, but we had our annual state survey. And that was the last week of March of this year, so almost exactly 1 month ago at this rate. And we had 3 surveyors and 1 training surveyor, so 4 in total, on site for 3 days, reviewing our healthcare, the kitchen, our environmental procedures, laundry, infection control, as well as life safety, so the general engineering of the building. And the survey, which also had 3 complaints tagged to it, resulted to be deficiency free, which is absolutely fantastic. We know we have opportunities as always, but from their perspective, they think we are doing a fantastic job. They were incredibly complimentary of our staff. This is a huge accomplishment for our staff as well, because we have not been surveyed since May of 2019. So almost 2 years they had to look back, and they were able to look back and evaluate our policies, procedures, how we managed COVID. And so it was a really excellent outcome. And then we did receive 1 citation in our life safety survey for having a door propped open in the basement. That would be a fire door. So if you see a propped open door one day and then you see it's closed the next, that's because if it is a fire door, it does need to be shut. And those are usually those really heavy ones too. So it is nice to have it propped open. But so we will be celebrating in about 2 weeks because it'll be Skilled Nursing Week, as well as wanting to celebrate our deficiency-free survey, as this, given a pandemic on top of it, is such a great accomplishment for our staff and the hard work they've done over the past couple of years. So thanks, Tyler. All right.
All right. Well, we're going to skip around just slightly, and we're actually going to go to Carlos Matos, our Director of Food and Beverage, as there's a question that came up for him. You see him in the chef's jacket, so that means he's actually providing some of the dinner tonight, I assume. So, Carlos, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So our question this month was, is the plan to make a kitchen tour video still in the works? And yes, it is. We've been trying to get this done for a couple of months now. I know Scott has come and done all the footage, but he is a little bit behind in doing the editing. Obviously, he has a big workload during this shutdown period. We're doing a lot of visual stuff for you on channel 955, this meeting here. So, he's just caught up with a few other projects, but he is actively working on it. Does anyone have any questions for me at this time? How are things going in the dining room? We happy to be there, happy to be open again. It really is gratifying for me to see everyone in the dining room again. Really missed you. I hate walking through that empty dining room every night. And so it's nice to have folks in there and have a little life in there. How have we been doing? Does anyone have any commentary on how we've been doing with your in-residence dining? Have we been doing pretty well there as well? Okay, good. Well, that's good to hear. Yes, Arlene.
What about opening up the dining room further?
So we're hoping within the next 2 weeks to start to relax our 6-foot social distancing policy. We feel we're getting to the point where we can safely do this. Everyone's been vaccinated. We seem to be doing a good job controlling things here in the facility. We are taking a slow course back to normal, obviously, because your health and safety is our top concern. But I'm hoping that by the week after next, we should be able to start letting you come in and sit in tables of 3 or 4 without the social distancing requirement. The only thing that would change that would be if we perhaps have an outbreak or something of that nature. But our goal is to get back as close to normal as we were prior to the pandemic. So thank you for asking that. Anyone else? Yes, Barb.
Oh, I was gonna say, first of all, thank you for the fresh flowers.
My pleasure.
They have just been a delight.
Yeah,
That means a lot.
To have rather than the big turntable.
agreed.
And second, like we've noticed that there've been quite a number of changes in your menu assortment, some very interesting and new things, and it's nice to see the variety.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad you noticed. Yeah, every sentence starts with prior to the pandemic, So prior to the pandemic, we did try to do a good job of changing the menu up 3 to 4 times a year to reflect some seasonality, take away something that may not have been a favorite and try to find something that will be. And we held off on doing that for the past year just because there were so many X factors involved in our operation that it just made it easier for us to stick with what we know and not add too many variables there for the team, for yourselves, for a bunch of reasons. Again, as we continue on our journey back to normal, we're back to the point where we can start to refresh the menu on a regular basis. I hope to have a refresh to the core menu within the next couple of weeks as well. But what I'm focusing on right now is taking your 5-week cycle of specials and try to put in some things that either reflect the seasonality or maybe that folks might enjoy So maybe a little bit less stews and a few more freshly grilled meats, and then other types of things of that nature. Changing up the vegetables, the grains, the starches. Absolutely. But not too many changes that hopefully everyone doesn't lose their favorites. All right, well, thank you very much. It is a pleasure seeing y'all.
All right. And thank you, Carlos, and thank you to your team for everything you do. I know it's a wonderful balancing act, oftentimes in the kitchen to get some of the keep what's popular, keep what's in demand versus something new, something fresh. So I appreciate your team and your efforts throughout. So the next individual, of course, will be Mike Brever, as he has a number of updates regarding philanthropy and such. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. Hello, everybody. I think by the time we get through with the pandemic, I'll learn how to wear a mask and glasses at the same time without fogging up. Again, I've asked this before, but if any of you know how to do that, please let me know. I've had lots of suggestions, but none of them have worked for me.
Then add hearing aids.
And hearing aids, too. Okay, all right.
And hearing.
I have an answer.
What is it, Carlos?
Costco sells a really great anti-fogging agent. If you can get out there, they're also some on Amazon. But you just put a drop on your glasses and they help minimize the fogging up.
Did everybody hear that? Costco has a product, an anti-aging product. Is that what you said?
It's anti-fogging.
Antibody. Okay, all right. And Betty, you were saying you couldn't hear me?
No, I meant with glasses and hearing aids and the mask.
Oh.
It's very different.
Yes, I concur. I don't have hearing aids, but I sympathize with all of you that have to go through that. I'm sorry. But maybe we're coming to the end of masks soon. We'll all find out one of these days. The update for philanthropy. I'd like to begin by thanking one of your neighbors, Carol Fritz. She's been a really tremendous asset to us at the treasure chest. Carol took on the job several months ago of being the volunteer coordinator, and Carol is moving on to other things now. But while she did it, we were all very grateful for all the hard work she did for us, and so thank you very much, Carol. There is a new person taking on the role of being the volunteer coordinator. She is sitting in the back over here, Susan Comstock. She's waving her hand back and forth right now. If you would like to be a volunteer at the treasure chest, either see Susan or see Margaret Berg or see myself. Susan, is there still a sign-up book in the front, or are we just going to go with reaching out? There's a sign-up book in the front as well. So you could do that, and Susan will follow up if you're interested. This is important because although it has not been officially designated yet, I believe in the month of June, we're looking at going back to Mondays and Fridays in the treasure chest. That doesn't necessarily mean twice the number of volunteers we have regularly gotten, but it may. The reason I say that is we're finding out with a cashier and a host or hostess in the regular knick-knack treasure chest, you know, a cashier can maybe do both. So instead of 3, we may only need 2. But if we have 3, it means people have a little bit of camaraderie, some socialization that goes on. So believe me, if you want to volunteer, we're not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, we already have our... Really, if you want to learn how to volunteer, or if you want to come down and spend a couple hours and have some fun with your neighbors, talk to Susan or Margaret or myself. We will get you signed up. And hopefully in June, so only 4 weeks from now, we'll be going back to twice a week. So we'll need twice the volunteers. I'm pleased to say that as of this morning, we have $11,400 in our scholarship fund right now. We still have a good 4.5 months to go yet until we'll be allocating money. So we do have a nice sum set aside already for scholarships, and we're hoping that that will continue to grow over the next several months. We do have a big sale tomorrow, a 2-4 sale. You buy an item, your second item of equal or lesser value is half price. What that means, you'll have to see the sales representatives tomorrow because different people have interpreted that comment different ways. I can assure you of consistency, however. The way we treat customer one is how we will treat the last customer of the day. So come on down. It's a 2-4 sale. Buy 2 items, get the second of equal or lesser value at half price. So I think you'll enjoy it, and we'll build that scholarship fund thanks to all of you. There's also another initiative that just started this morning. If you haven't been to your mailboxes yet, you will see it when you get there later today. Again, Susan played a big role in this, the Neighbors Helping Neighbor initiative. You know that many of our good friends and neighbors are going to be moving to different locations soon. We're collecting packing materials, cardboard boxes, bubble wrap, anything like that you have that you don't need anymore that you think might be of use to other people. Apartment 2405. That's the second floor of Bradford Terrace, all the way at the end. The door is going to be always open. Drop off your boxes, your bubble wrap, your wrapping paper, anything that people can use in a move, and I'm certain it will be well used. There's a sign up there on the door so you can't miss it now. And again, there's a flyer in your mailboxes right now. I've talked to you several times about some outings we have scheduled for later this year, specifically an August Brewers game, similar to what we did 2 years ago. And also we have a cruise on the Milwaukee River heading out into the harbor on the Edelweiss, which is scheduled for September. Both of those, although booked already, are tentative. We're still waiting to see the impact of the coronavirus on group outings. Not necessarily just what East Castle Place is allowing, but what the Milwaukee Brewers and what the Edelweiss boat cruise company are allowing. So I cannot say definitely that those things are happening, but we are booked. Both of them have assured us that if we have to cancel this year because of restrictions, we'll be able to go next year. They'll carry our funds forward. So the outings are coming. They're in the future, hopefully this year yet, but if not, our funds are secure. I want to point out to you that we are now quickly coming into the month of May. For those of you that know what that means, we're halfway through the Employee Appreciation Fund early collection period. For those of you that are on monthly contracts, contributing, $50 a month instead of $500 at the end of the year, or $100 a month instead of $1,000 at the end of the year. I also want to point out those of you that would still like to get in on an opportunity like that to spread out a payment that you might be generous enough to make for the Employee Appreciation Fund. It's not too late. Come and see myself, come and see Brad. Even if you had a contract for that last year, if you did not sign a new contract for this year, you're not on the Employee Appreciation early collection period. So you have to have a new contract for this year. Come see Brad or myself and we'll get you on it. You still have half of the collection cycle to go, so it's a nice way to spread out your generosity and lessen the impact of a one type contribution. And last but not least, you may have noticed over the last month when you came in here, there were a couple of speakers standing on the floor over here along with a cabinet. The cabinet had a turntable, a CD player, an amplifier in it. We hooked those up and they are now fully functional. Now that they're fully functional and they have a beautiful sound, we've removed them. We're going to bring them back. Eric and I have been talking about it. When we initially embarked on this, it was part of our Symphonova project. It was intended for that system to be portable so that we could take it out into the courtyard. Or we could take it over to Bradford Terrace Lounge if we have something going on there. Eric is building a cart on casters, if you will, that this will set on. So we'll be able to follow through on that. As soon as he has that done, it's going to be brought back. Hopefully the next time you hear David Tolan's wonderful music appreciation program that he does every month, you'll hear it on this beautiful new system. Are there any questions I can answer for anybody? All right, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it back over to Tyler. That's you. I got mine. All right, there we go.
Mike, if your phone is still up here and it rings, I will let it go to voicemail for you. So, all right, thank you, Mike. Another suggestion, Mike, is LASIX for those glasses. Get the eyes fixed. No glasses, no fog. You'll be set. So, all right. So, the next individual will be Eric Peterson. Eric is, like I said, out of the office today. He'll be back in tomorrow, but there was a question that he did respond to. And the question was, could there be brighter lighting in the Central Historic Contemporary Stairwell? Difficult for low vision folks currently. And so he wanted me to inform you of that, yes, the lighting can be brightened. He will order brighter fixtures and have them replaced. The ETA, or estimated time of arrival, if that's the version he wanted me to use, is 2 weeks, mid-May for the order and the installation. And we will likely try to match the fixtures that are currently in the stairwells. So thank you to whoever asked that question, as we want the hallways to be brighter. Again, especially if your glasses do fog up, that is difficult to get down those hallways. So again, safety first, appreciate the comment. The other thing that I wanted to update you all on behalf of Eric, is the tuck pointing project, as well as the deck project. I had this going before, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Technology will be my friend. Let's try this again. It just worked. There, hey! Round of applause for technology. All right. And then I need a sip from, I learned from the Green Committee, usually I would have a water bottle. Reusable. Good stuff. All right, so tuck pointing, where are we at? So why tuck pointing? If you can see this picture, you see there's a large gap where mortar and caulk would be. You can see that brick started pulling away. Not the best situation, especially for a building that's over 120 years old. Then you can see this more kind of damage. You see bricks that are protruding slightly. Again, the reason why we're doing tuck pointing. You can see it on the peaks as well. That work that needs to be done. So what do? You hire a group that gets on these cranes and ladders and fulfills those cracks and puts the brick back into place, rebuilds the chimneys, so to speak. All those pieces are what Holton Brothers are doing. They are wrapping up in the courtyard as we speak. So I know I had many supervisors, which thank you for that, for taking a look. I hear that the workers like opera. Wouldn't have had them as opera guys, but needless to say, they are wrapping up the courtyard. They will now move their equipment to what we'll call the street level and begin around the Hinton wing and round to the front of the historic building. So again, a lot of work has been done. I thank you for allowing the noise, some interruption into that courtyard, and then working through to make the building waterproof, re-waterproofing, but then also safe. And to be honest, it's restoration that was probably needed roughly 15 years ago. And so it's that continued maintenance of the building that we are looking forward to continuing. Another area that Eric discussed with myself were some decks and some patios. So many of you have decks on your outside of your apartments, right? So you can see here the paint is chipping. We're rusted. We have deck boards that need to be replaced or are faded and worn. So Eric hired the Dublin contractors. They brought their own lift to compete with Holton Brothers. And they are making great progress. And although this picture doesn't quite do it justice, what they did was power wash, sand down, repaint, restain the decks and the balconies so that in the future, obviously, those balconies and decks are taken care of and we have the look that we need. So, a great job is happening with Dublin Brothers. Thank you as well to those that are having your patio furniture removed and then replaced. Thank you for your patience and understanding through all of this. So, again, just some maintenance projects that I wanted to keep you updated on. And then, lastly, I don't know, but I don't know how he got into the program, but that little guy is my little guy. So proud dad moment, since I have the screen here. He was with grandma yesterday, so she took this picture and sent it to me while I was at work. But Hunter Grady is 7 months old, almost, doing well. And who knew how much your life could really be changed? But I'm so blessed, so fortunate, and just wanted to share a fun updated picture with you. He enjoys the ball. He's been sleeping through the night. I'll knock on wood. I'll have everybody knock on wood and say a prayer that stays up. But no, he's happy, healthy, and couldn't be more happy. So, all right. So there ends the slideshow. All right. Questions regarding any of that was shared with you? Anything I can pass along to Eric in his absence? Barbara.
Is there going to be access to the gazebo areas? Is the gate coming down?
Yes. Great question, Barbara. So the question was, is the gazebo going to be back open? The answer is yes. The gazebo will be back open, actually probably by next week is the plan. And then you'll be able to enjoy that gazebo. We do have some repair work that needs to happen with the gazebo. There's a couple shingles and things that are needing in replacement and have been for some time. So we'll be getting to those as well. But yes, we want that gazebo area open now that the weather is getting back to that beautiful Wisconsin springtime/summer. So yes. Winter, tomorrow, fall, the next day. We'll go through those seasons in the next couple of weeks. All right. Then up next for myself is a COVID-19 update. And I mean, Lindsay's update really said it all. We're very pleased with the continued progress that we've made. For your sakes, we have roughly 65% of our employee population vaccinated. Of that, roughly 80 to 90% of our full-time staff are in the vaccinated population. So CVS, our partner pharmacy, who obviously gave vaccines here back in February and March, seems like a lifetime ago. I mean, obviously that's continued push for us. And again, we're continuing to work with our staff members. I just ran into a staff member. She was coming back from the Wisconsin Center yesterday. She got her second dose of the Moderna vaccine. So again, I think as things progress, obviously we started the vaccine rollout in January, did a large push and clinic here on site, continuing those offerings, continuing to support staff when they do have those vaccine options. And obviously now with everything I'm sure you've seen in the news, the vaccine is becoming more and more available. And so again, that provides good news for us as we can continue to work through kind of relaxing the restrictions. Carlos mentioned it in the dining room. Obviously, we're here in Lindsay Hall. There's probably about 20 to 30 of us. And again, we'll continue to work through that. I know face masks are of question, and I will tell you that face masks, from my standpoint, are an additional protectant, especially in these group settings. Now, I know that the CDC came out, if you're outside and everybody's vaccinated, no masks are necessary. And I'm okay with that as well if you're outside. But inside the common areas, I would ask you continue to wear your masks. Obviously, if you're conversing with other of your neighbors in small group settings, everybody's been vaccinated. You know what the CDC has said about that from a safety standpoint. And again, I fully anticipate that residents such as yourselves will wear masks for a long time. Again, especially maybe during flu season. You know that there's a number of countries that masks are part of kind of how they go about their day-to-day. So again, masks are always going to be available and allowed. But again, that kind of mask mandate, so to speak, here at East Castle Place in the common areas, we're going to stick with for a bit of time yet. Again, we'll be monitoring CDC. Obviously, I'm excited with Lindsay's announcement of how we've been doing from COVID. That's the trend we want to continue. So now the resident question is, will live streamed programs such as State of the Castle be on YouTube, on the YouTube website? Nice to watch at any time and convenient. I talked with Scott earlier, and yes, these live streamed events are being recorded as we speak. So after this, Scott will get the iPad back. He will upload that to YouTube, and within, I'll say 72 hours, usually it's going to be within 5 to 6, if not less. But I want to make sure if we have a Friday event and for some reason it doesn't get uploaded till Monday, we have some wiggle room. But yes, these presentations, David Tolan's presentation was mentioned earlier. His presentation will be available on YouTube and live streamed. So again, embracing technology to utilize it to the best of East Castle Place's advantage is what we're after. So as resident events happen, things of that nature, we'll use the technology. It's pretty simple, click of a button. All right, now the next questions that were submitted was regarding the renovations, announcements, so on and so forth. So it says, please describe when construction will begin. How many phases will there be? What's the timeline? Are there going to be overlaps? How will resident input be obtained? What's the ongoing feedback will be provided to the overall resident community? So they took advantage of the one question and turned it into about 8. So I'm going to do my best to kind of dissect that since I know it's a topic of mind. Construction is tentatively scheduled to begin in March of 2022. So again, we have some lead time. Obviously, we're going to be going to the city for approvals here at the middle of May, actually. And again, that is for phase 1 of East Castle Place, and that's all we're focused on right now. That is all the board has authorized, that's all the board has approved. But within phase 1, there are many phases, so to speak, and so again, I'm going to try and get phase 1 out of it and call it the East Castle Place expansion plan. Within them, there's phases. The first phase is Bradford Terrace, getting that up to code for assisted living. Then from assisted living, we'll move residents from the Water Tower building from Water Tower over into the new Bradford Terrace. Then we will renovate Water Tower. Obviously, there's a lot in between there because there's a lot that goes in between Bradford Terrace and Water Tower, mainly the main common areas. We're working with a general contractor that was just awarded the project. We awarded C.G. Schmidt as our general contractor. If any of you have heard of C.G. Schmidt, I see some nods. They've been in the area for some time, roughly 101 years in the Milwaukee area. They were the general contractor on the Northwestern Mutual building, as well as many of the buildings across Milwaukee. Very, very strong reputation, very, very strong construction company. I had the opportunity, along with the board of directors, as well as a few of the operational folks from East Castle, as well as board members, to interview 3 different construction groups last week. C.G. Schmidt really rose to the top through those 3. And so again, all 3 were very strong. CG fit the bill for us. But when I say that, we still haven't had necessarily those meetings of what the phasing really looks like. They have projections. They have things that they will propose on what the timeline is, which right now is between 14 and 16 months, start to finish. But When will the dining room, for instance, be taken offline? That I don't have an answer on. Could that be in the first part of phase 1, meaning along with Bradford Terrace? Possibly. We know that there's services that we still have to meet and accommodate for you all. And so again, those are ongoing conversations and communication. As soon as I have more of that knowledge, I'll be sure to share that with you, which I believe is another question, is how do we provide that ongoing feedback? One of the pieces that C.G. Schmidt offered that no other construction company offered was actually monthly and weekly updates to communities via live television, donuts with the superintendent, coffees, things of that nature. Again, communication, and C.G. Schmidt, along with myself, know over communication is going to be the key for everything. Construction, if you've ever gone through it, is not without headache sometimes. It's not without disruption and noise. But to the best of our ability, we're going to make sure that you as residents know what the impact is to your day-to-day lives, what the progress is with the dining room, for instance. Because again, I know many of you, as you supervise the Holton brothers in Dublin, you're probably going to want to supervise C.G. Schmidt. And I welcome that, and so do they. They are comfortable, and this is what they do. They work in communities that are occupied, that are going through renovations. They obviously have a very strong partnership with Columbia St. Mary's Hospital and working through all their repositions. So they're adapt to this. And so again, they know communication, just as I believe communication is essential, is going to be essential throughout this entire project. Phases will overlap. I truly believe that the dining room will open, another phase will start, another phase will stop. Again, we're working through all that. I would be remiss to share with you if I had any of those answers at this given time. But again, starting in March right now is tentative. We will begin in Bradford Terrace, as well as most likely some of the common areas. And again, it's not that Bradford Terrace is going to be 6 months and then the common areas is going to be 6 months. We'll piecemeal that. If common areas like the dining room are able to get back open in 4 to 8 weeks, let's go ahead and open that, and then we can move on to the next section. Lindsay Hall will get a refresh. I want to share with those that are viewing and those that are in the room, Lindsay Hall is not set up to be expanded. I'll share that with you. I know that's been a question before, but obviously the utilization of the room is important. To get additional square feet, there's a bunch of structural things that would have to happen, and that's a pretty big investment. The board of directors has already made a strong investment into the community and commitment. The project cost is anywhere between $15 and $20 million at the end of the day. So again, it's a strong commitment that we're making. The reason we're able to make that is because East Castle Place is in a strong financial position from its overall operations. And so again, we're in a position of strength when we do this. And lastly, how will resident input be obtained? Very important. We know that your preferences, the way in which we program, the areas of service that we need and amenities that we want are going to be coming from you. And so I look forward to sitting down in those special sessions, I'll call them right now because I don't have a better term for them, where we can talk about, we have this space, we're not sure what to do with it. We have some thoughts. What are your thoughts, right? That's going to be the types of meetings that I want to have with you. We will be hiring an interior designer because trust me, you don't want Tyler's interior design trying to coordinate this entire project. It's pretty complex, and at the end of the day, you're going to get white walls and maybe a picture. Thankfully, I have a wife at home that makes sure my house doesn't look like that. But at the end of the day, that input is going to be necessary. I know that 100% of residents, 100% of prospective residents, 100% of staff are not all going to come in accordance with a decision to say, yes, this is the direction we need to go. I think you all know that too, but I do want you to know your voice will be wanted and heard. And again, we'll be working hand in hand with C.G. Schmidt. You, our interior designers, East Castle Place directors and staff, as well as LCS Development, who is going to help us in working through all of these pieces. So, yes, your input will be needed. It will be necessary. Although I want you to know that maybe you have one idea and it may not get implemented. Doesn't mean it wasn't heard. It just means that we had to go a different direction. Again, I have ideas, and I know that I have many ideas that have already been vetoed, and that's just part of the project. And again, that's because there's many other ideas, many other insights and knowledge and expertise that I don't have, that you may have. You live in this space. You work and not work. Well, you work in the treasure chest as volunteers, but you understand what I'm saying. There's spaces that, you have a better handle on than maybe myself. One area that I always find some trouble in is small group meetings, for committees. Is there a space that we can find that can envelop technology that's always set up, that we don't have to rearrange Lindsay Hall in order to do a 10-person meeting, but instead we have a conference room that has the proper hearing loops, that has the proper projectors and touch screens and things of that nature, that is dedicated for that maybe we can have a resident council meeting in consistently. Those are the types of things I think that we want out of this project. The other pieces that we want out of this project is to make this space as active as possible. And so that's where the enhancements will come into play that we will have. So that's probably more than this resident or question wanted to have, but I felt it necessary to kind of kick off the question. But again, it's great to see everybody. With that, Betty.
This is off the subject, but I think we ought to welcome all the new people that are here.
Thank you, Betty.
Like Kathy Barnes and Dick Neighbor.
Kathy and Dick, raise your hands.
Eileen Olin,
Miss Olin is not here.
Judy Hestock,
Judy is not here.
and Elaine Johnston.
Elaine Johnston is not here either.
I'm not doing my job.
That's quite okay, Betty. I also should have asked, because I know Susan, who's been referenced a couple times in this meeting, this is also your first State of the Castle in person, I believe. Susan, you joined us 6 months ago already?
Close to 7.
Close to 7. So again, Susan Comstock, and then do you have anything else, Betty? No? Thank you, because that should have been what I started with. So I'll be working alongside Betty in the next month to really do a real resident welcome from, actually, we'll go back to January of 2020 to make sure everybody's welcomed, and I know you all have already done it. But again, thank you, Betty. I appreciate that. And welcome. Very excited. Anything else? All right. With that, I want to say thank you. Enjoy the beautiful weather. I believe it's supposed to be up to 75 on Saturday. So enjoy the beautiful weather. And then get your parkas, because I'm sure it's going to snow on Monday. I'm just kidding. It's not going to. So, all right. Take care, everybody.